Yatou, the story goes, Wang Wen, a scholar from Dongchang Prefecture, was always known for his honesty. One year, he traveled to Hubei and crossed the 6 rivers, staying at an inn. While wandering around the streets, he met a fellow villager, Zhao Donglu. Zhao was a wealthy merchant who had been away for many years and hadn't returned home in a while. When they met, they shook hands warmly and invited Wang Wen to his lodgings for a chat. As Wang Wen entered, he saw a beautiful woman sitting inside, and he was taken aback. He thought about leaving, but Zhao grabbed his arm and shouted through the window, "Nizi, go away." Then he pulled Wang Wen inside. Zhao served food and drink and engaged in a warm conversation. Wang Wen asked, "Where is this place?" Zhao told him candidly, "This is a small brothel. I'm just a long-term guest passing through and resting for a short while." During the conversation, a courtesan named Nizi attended to them. Wang Wen felt uncomfortable and decided to leave. However, Zhao insisted on keeping him seated. After a while, Wang Wen caught sight of a young girl passing by the door. The girl also saw him, and her gaze was affectionate and flirtatious. She had a graceful and ethereal demeanor, like a fairy. Although Wang Wen was usually upright and straightforward, he found himself feeling swayed. He asked, "Who is this beautiful girl?" Zhao Donglu said, "She is the second daughter of the brothel's madam, named Yatou, and she's 14 years old. Many wealthy clients have tried to bribe her mother with generous gifts to arrange a marriage, but Yatou herself has consistently refused. This has led to her mother beating her frequently. Yatou begged for leniency, citing her young age, and eventually her mother relented. So she's still available for engagement." Wang Wen listened, lowered his head, and sat in a daze, avoiding a direct response. Zhao jokingly said, "If you're interested, I can definitely help you arrange it." Wang Wen sighed and said, "I dare not entertain such thoughts." Despite the sun setting, he remained seated without bidding farewell. Zhao teased him again, saying, "If you're interested, I'll act as a matchmaker for you." Wang Wen responded with a heavy sigh, "I'm grateful for your kind offer, but I'm short of funds. What can I do?" Knowing that Yatou was a strong-willed person, Zhao deliberately agreed to help Wang Wen with a sum of 10 taels of silver. Wang Wen was immensely thankful and hurried back to his inn. He emptied his pockets and managed to gather an additional 5 taels. He rushed back to Zhao to ask him to give the money to Yatou's mother. However, her mother found the amount insufficient. Unexpectedly, Yatou said to her mother, "Mom, you scold me every day for not being willing to be your cash cow. This time, I'm fulfilling your wish. I'm just beginning this trade, and I'll have plenty of opportunities to repay you in the future. There's no need to let the chance for a wealthy patron slip away just because the offer is a bit low. We shouldn't scare away the god of wealth." Her mother didn't expect Yatou, who had always been stubborn, to agree. She happily accepted the offer and instructed her maids to summon Wang Wen. With no way to back out at this point, Zhao went along with it and handed over the silver to Yatou's mother. Wang Wen and Yatou fell deeply in love. One night, Yatou said to Wang Wen, "I'm a lowly woman of the pleasure district. I'm not worthy of you. Since you've shown me affection and it's genuine, how will we face tomorrow after sharing this night together?" Wang Wen was filled with sorrow and tears welled up in his eyes. Yatou continued, "Don't worry. I've fallen into this life against my will. If I could have found an honest man like you to entrust my life to, I would have escaped long ago. If you're willing, let's escape tonight." Wang Wen was overjoyed and quickly got up. Yatou followed suit, listening for the sound of the curfew drum striking the 3rd watch of the night. Yatou quickly dressed as a boy, and they rushed out, knocking on the inn's door. Wang Wen had brought the donkeys with him, claiming to have an urgent matter and ordering his servants to set off immediately. Yatou attached the tokens to the back of the servants and the donkeys' ears, then let the donkeys run freely. The wind whistled past them, and they could hardly keep their eyes open due to the speed. By daybreak, they arrived in Hankou. They rented a house and settled down. Wang Wen was amazed by the situation. Yatou told him, "I'll tell you something. Will you be afraid?" She continued, "I'm not human, but a fox. My mother was promiscuous, and I've suffered beatings and scolding every day. I've grown to hate her. Finally, I've escaped my miserable fate. She won't be able to find us if we're more than 100 miles away. We can live our lives in peace." Wang Wen believed Yatou's words wholeheartedly and had no doubt about her being a fox spirit. He just worried about their future, saying, "In the face of such a beautiful lady like you, my surroundings are empty. I'm truly uneasy. I'm afraid that, in the end, I'll be abandoned." Yatou said, "There's no need to worry. We can start a small business in the city, supporting a few mouths with simple food and drinks. You can sell the donkeys for capital." Following Yatou's advice, Wang Wen opened a small shop in front of their house, selling alcohol and tea. He and his servant busied themselves with running the business and entertaining guests. Yatou stayed home, sewing and embroidering. They managed to save a surplus every day, ensuring their family lived well. After a year, they were able to hire maids and servants, and Wang Wen no longer had to work himself. He only supervised the business run by the staff. One day, Yatou suddenly became sad and told Wang Wen, "Disaster is looming tonight. What should we do?" Wang Wen asked her what was going on, and Yatou said, "My mother has already learned about me. She'll surely come to take me back. If she sends her older daughter, I can handle it. I'm worried she might come herself later in the night." Yatou relieved his anxiety and said, "It's okay. It's her older daughter who came." After a while, Yatou's older sister entered the room. Yatou welcomed her with a smile. Her older sister scolded, "You shameless girl, eloping with a man. Mother sent me to catch you." As she spoke, she pulled out a rope and tried to tie it round Yatou's neck. Yatou grew angry and retorted, "I've chosen a man as my partner. What crime have I committed?" Her sister became even angrier upon hearing this and began to pull and tear at Yatou's clothes. The maids and servants in the house rushed in upon hearing the commotion. Frightened, Yatou's sister fled. Yatou said, "If my older sister came, it means our mother knows. If she shows up herself, it's a big disaster. We need to figure something out quickly." They hastily packed their belongings and prepared to move to a more distant place. Amidst the chaos, their mother burst in, her face flushed with anger, and shouted, "I've always known this girl lacks manners. I had to come myself." Yatou hurriedly went forward and knelt, pleading for mercy. Her mother didn't utter a word, grabbing her by the hair and dragging her away. Wang Wen was in turmoil, neglecting to eat or sleep. He rushed to the 6 rivers, hoping to ransom Yatou back. However, upon arriving at the brothel, he found it still operating as usual, but with entirely different people. When he inquired about Yatou, nobody knew where they had gone. Wang Wen wept bitterly and dismissed his servants. He gathered his belongings and returned to his hometown of Dongchang. After several years, Wang Wen happened to visit the capital for some business. As he passed by the Yang Hall, one of his servants noticed a young child, about 7 or 8 years old, who bore a striking resemblance to Wang Wen. The servant was astonished and couldn't help but stare. Wang Wen asked the servant what they were looking at, and the servant explained. Wang Wen took a look and laughed as well. Upon closer inspection, the child was very handsome. Wang Wen realized he didn't have a son and was struck by his resemblance to him. He grew fond of the child and decided to ransom him. Wang Wen asked the child's name, and he said it was Wang Zi. Wang Wen found it odd and inquired, "If you were abandoned as a baby, how do you know your name?" Wang Zi replied, "My wet nurse told me. When I was found, I had words written on my chest that said son of Wang Wen from Shandong." Wang Wen was shocked and exclaimed, "I am Wang Wen. How could I have a son?" He thought maybe it was just someone with the same name and surname. He felt elated and grew attached to the child. After bringing him back to Dongchang, people recognized him without asking and knew that he was Wang Wen's legitimate son. Wang Zi gradually grew tall and strong, with a brave and robust personality. He enjoyed hunting and was skilled in fights. Even Wang Wen couldn't control him. He claimed to be able to see spirits and foxes, though no one else believed him. Coincidentally, a family in the village was troubled by a fox spirit, so they asked him to help. He identified the hiding spot of the fox spirit, and a group of strong men pummeled it upon his directions. The fox spirit wailed and its fur and blood fell to the ground. Since then, the household remained peaceful, and people were amazed and admired him even more. One day, Wang Wen was wandering through the market and unexpectedly encountered Zhao Donglu, disheveled and emaciated. Surprised, Wang Wen asked him where he came from. In a desolate tone, Zhao requested a private place to talk. Wang Wen invited him to his home, where they had food and drink arranged by his servants, and they began to converse. Zhao said, "After the old woman took my daughter back, she treated her very harshly. They moved to Yan capital and tried to force her to marry someone else. But she refused adamantly. The old woman locked her up. Later, she gave birth to a son, whom they tossed into an alleyway. I heard that the foundling home picked him up. He must be a grown man by now. This is your descendant." Wang Wen couldn't help but shed tears, exclaiming, "He is safe with me again." He then recounted the story and asked Zhao, "How did you end up in this situation?" With a heavy sigh, Zhao said, "Today, I realized that getting too involved with brothel women is a grave mistake. What else is there to say?" As it turned out, when the madam moved to Yan capital, Zhao Donglu followed her and engaged in business there. The goods he had were sold at low prices due to local misfortune. With expenses for sustenance along the way, he had suffered considerable losses. His wife, Nizi, had expensive tastes and extravagant habits, depleting their wealth even if they were once rich. As her expenses grew, even though they were wealthy before, their fortune had vanished. The madam, seeing he had no money left, glared at him day and night. Nizi often stayed at the homes of wealthy clients for several nights. Zhou was enraged but helpless. One day, while the madam was away, Yatou called to Zhao from a window, "Love affairs in the brothel are not based on true affection. What they desire is just money. If you remain attached like this, you will bring disaster upon yourself." Frightened, Zhao came to his senses. Before leaving, he said goodbye to Yatou in secret. Yatou gave him a letter to pass to Wang Wen. Zhao departed and handed the letter to Wang Wen. The letter read, "I heard that my son is back with you. Zhao will explain my hardships to you in detail. There's nothing to say about the sins of our past lives. I am trapped in a dark cell, lashed and beaten every day, skin torn and flesh bruised, suffering unbearable pain. Starved. It's as if I'm being fried in oil. One day feels like a year. If you remember the night in Han capital when we embraced each other for warmth, I hope you can discuss with your son and let him rescue me from this misery. Though the old woman and Nizi are cruel, they're still my flesh and blood. Please instruct your son not to harm their lives. This is my wish." Wang Wen read the letter and couldn't help but cry out in sorrow. He gave Zhao Donglu a generous sum of money as a gesture of gratitude. Zhao learned from this that the madam and her daughter were both fox spirits. Wang Zi was a filial son, and if Zhao occasionally angered him, he would roar with fury. Yatou said to Wang Wen, "This child is very stubborn. If we don't remove his obstinance, he'll end up violent and ruin the family." So, one night while Wang Zi was asleep, they bound his hands and feet. When Wang Zi woke up and protested, they explained that they were going to cure his stubbornness and told him not to be afraid of pain. They used large needles to pierce near his ankle bone, driving them 3 or 4 points deep, then picked out the tendons. They used a knife to sever the tendons on his elbows and head, and then let him sleep in peace. The next morning, Wang Zi ran to his parents, crying and apologizing for his past actions. His parents were overjoyed. From then on, Wang Zi became as gentle as a girl, and the village praised him for his transformation.
Alright, this story has come to an end. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you.